Hey, what a day. Wow. I guess we were expecting this, but until it happens, do you really expect it? Someone of this magnitude, of this wealth, of this prominence, with this much power to be taken down by the feds? That's what happened to P. Diddy. Make no mistake about it. This is as serious as it gets. He's facing the rest of his life behind bars based upon what's in this indictment that was unsealed today. Right now, as we speak, we're waiting for word from the courtroom. Diddy trying to get out on bond. Now, his attorney has put together a bond package that includes $50 million, giving up the passport of himself and members of his family, and have him stay in his home. So that's the package that they're presenting to the court. We'll see what the judge does about it. 50 million's a lot. it's a lot. I believe it's being denied at this moment, but I'm waiting. I've got a live shot from outside the courthouse, waiting to see. I see people running out. So people are obviously tweeting it out. I wanted to see if I could bring you an official announcement from one of the pool reporters who's supposed to give it. But this is the way it works in federal court, okay? All the power, all the advantage is with the feds. And the reason is the way federal law enforcement, the FBI, and the U.S. attorneys work here is that they don't bring cases unless they've got the evidence. They want a rock solid case. They don't like to try cases. They like to push people into plea deals. But if they have to try it, they know they're going to have the evidence that they need. And that's the difference. This is amazing. I'm listening to what's happening right now.
Are we staying long lens until a certain point?
Yeah.
What point is that?
Honestly, the point to the first person doesn't.
So you fucking start walking in front of me.
Yeah, I'm waiting. There should be some sort of press conference or something coming up. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Or the pool reporter will tell us exactly why it was denied. But okay, so let's get back to it, okay? Because this is something I've been talking about for years, which is the difference between what the feds do and what state prosecutors do. Generally speaking, right? There's a crime. There's an investigation. They solve it. They indict it. That's the way state prosecutors work, right? They react. A crime happens. They figure out who's responsible, whatever the crime is. And at that point, they then get the evidence together, present it to a grand jury, indict, and then try the person for the crime. Now, the feds don't necessarily do it that way. It's not like something happens, they respond to the scene, they react, and they try to figure out who did it, and they'll charge someone. A lot of their investigations are things that are ongoing or have happened or undercover sting operations, right? This one is conduct that's been ongoing. As I get, and I'm going to go through pieces of this indictment. But they're alleging conduct since 2008. So this is ongoing for years and years, this alleged conduct, right? So they'll take it and all right, what do we have to prove this case? And we know all about the federal raid that happened. And think about it. Like, they did the raid. They've spoken to all these people who have brought civil suits against Sean Combs. And there's a lot of that as well. There's a lot of civil litigation related to federal criminal cases as well. And that happens a lot as well as situations like this. So I'm looking at where we are and how we got here. And what I think really is going on here is that the civil lawsuits had gotten to the point where federal investigators like, hey, we've got to do something. We've got to look at this. We've got to look at this. And that's really, I think, was part of their starting point here, was looking at these allegations from these civil cases, many of which were settled, but then speaking to the people involved and using that as a basis to get some probable cause to execute these raids and search warrants. And through the raids and search warrants is where you're now gathering all this evidence. And a lot of this is digital evidence, whether it's computer, videos, records, back and forth, communications. And then you try to round up people associated with the target of your investigation, which is Diddy. Is anyone cooperating? Is anyone speaking? Because you're alleging here racketeering, RICO. You're alleging a conspiracy. So obviously other people will be involved. So you put all of that together and then you get the evidence together. And trust me, the feds do not go forward unless they're very confident in their case. And that confidence comes from a couple of different places. It comes from, okay, who's the defendant? What is the story that I can tell inside of a courtroom? What are the irrefutable types of pieces of evidence like videos that I have? A lot of times they rely on undercover recordings and surveillance, et cetera. We've seen that in some of the mafia cases from years gone by. But now, in this case, it seems like a lot of the digital evidence that's been gathered is stuff that was created and retained by Diddy himself. So Diddy did himself in. I mean, some of the things that were apparently uncovered in the raid and the search of his homes may very well be some of the strongest evidence against him. So let me read this. This first paragraph is so telling, and it gives you the overview from count one, which is the racketeering conspiracy, which really encompasses the whole thing. And what they're really alleging here is that he ran an organization, and the purpose of this organization was to do all the things that he was able to get away with. It's from the exact same playbook that they ran against R. Kelly. Only in R. Kelly's case, I mean, the guy by the end really didn't have a lot of money. When you compare R. Kelly to P. Diddy and where the only thing they have in common is like the one letter before their names as I'm saying them, right? The level of power, influence that Diddy had versus R. Kelly, the level of sophistication of what Diddy was doing versus R. Kelly. I mean, just worlds apart. Yet prosecutors had very little trouble in getting convictions on R. Kelly. You know, you're saying he was running this whole thing, R. Kelly, and he didn't have the money and the level of evidence that you've got allegedly in this case. I mean, Diddy's connected hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and connected to the most influential people in our culture. That's not R. Kelly. R. Kelly's not running in those circles. Diddy was. Not anymore. Not anymore. So for decades, Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. P.D., a.k.a. Love, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires. This is about his sexual desires. Protect his reputation and conceal his conduct. To do so Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Okay? All of that. And the picture they want to paint in this indictment and ultimately inside a courtroom is that, he has this huge commercial enterprise, whether it's the clothing, restaurants, music, publishing, all of that, and is using all of this to fulfill these desires and to conceal his conduct and to create this reputation that he had for years. Like, he was an A-lister. Everyone wanted to go to his white party, right? I never got invited. Good thing. Oh, someone is speaking right now. Let's see what this person has to say. Let's listen.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again, and we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Why did you happen last night instead of today as well?
I don't know. The question is, why did it happen last night instead of today? I don't know the answer to that question. I just want to make one point very clear. We have no power. All we can do is show good faith. He got on a plane and he came here. And if he stayed here for one day before the case started, or for 1 year before the case started, he was going to stay as long as he needed to stay. It ends up being only 12 days. That's fine. That's what the government wanted to do. The government didn't want him to turn himself in. He came here to turn himself in. Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest the guy who came to New York to turn himself in. We're going to make all these points again tomorrow, and we'll make it as much as we can until we get him out. That's all I have.
All right, so they're trying to get him out, and the argument is, hey, he came to New York. He knew he was going to be arrested. He came to New York. He's willing to give up his passport, everything else. $50 million. Is that not enough? He's facing life. Like, there's a potential for a life sentence based on these charges. That's how serious they all are. Now, you heard what he said is something that I said. The genesis of this federal indictment was a civil lawsuit. So sometimes that can make things a little messy. Sometimes. Because back in 2001, I covered his last trial in New York, which was for the possession of the pug, or the nug. Try to say everything backwards, right? For nug possession. And in that case, like, he got away with it. Like, it was clear. There were 3 people in the car, the driver who he hired, him and J-Lo, and someone threw the nug out of the window. And the driver said it was Puffy. And the defense said, no, it wasn't. It was the driver. And the driver sued him, and he's out for money. And every witness in that case had filed a civil suit. The jury did not find them credible. This was 2001, though, and Diddy's reputation was he was sort of a heroic figure. A guy who basically was able to make himself into this celebrity, this mogul, and his music was being played on the radio and everything else. This was sort of at the not at the beginning, but really his rise to being this this huge figure in the world of entertainment. And at that point, Diddy was big. He was an artist also. Like, he was fronting his songs. So at that point, the jury, which will be similar to the jury in this federal case, which is from Manhattan, gave him a break, cut him a break, sent him home. Now, he also had Johnny Cochran as one of his attorneys in that case, which helped a lot. We'll see if times have changed. You know, we've gone through Me Too. His fall from grace has been very public. I don't think he's not in the same point in his career. I think people are questioning people in power a little bit more. People are believing accusers a lot more. So I think it's going to be a much more difficult second time around here. First time around, it wasn't, I mean, it was serious, but it wasn't that serious, right? It was a nug possession case. You know, he's going to do a couple of years at best. This is the rest of his life. Like, from this point forward, he may never, ever breathe air as a free man. Now, the attorneys can go in and ask for bond again and again, and they will in this case. So he may get out, but right now he's locked up, not free to go. And, you know, in the federal system, things move a little more quickly. So we could have a trial in a year, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And if he's going to fight these charges, he's going to fight these charges, because I don't think feds are taking any deal here. I mean, he is the top of the ladder, right? The way the feds usually work is, if they indict someone on the bottom of a RICO case or conspiracy, they'll give them a deal, flip to get the person above them, flip to get him the person above them, then flip to get the person on the top. He is the top. So there's nowhere for him there's no place for him to flip. Unless he has some information, Epstein, that would implicate other people who've been compromised. But I don't know if that exists. And I don't know if feds are interested in that. But this is following the blueprint. It's the same team. It's the same that put together the case against R. Kelly. So they've got the blueprint. They know how to do it. They know how to convince a jury. And here you've got someone with many more assets. Now, R. Kelly had good attorneys as well. So that's not going to make the difference here. You know, we look back and how do you beat the feds? Who beats the feds? It's rare. You know, traditionally John Gotti was the guy, the Teflon Don. But the only way he was beating them is they were apparently getting to the jurors, right? They're getting to the juror. That's not going to happen here. Okay. So look, going back to the indictment and parts of this, you can't, I mean, can you even read it on YouTube? I don't know. By the way, thank you everyone who's watching today. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Post your comments. Get that conversation going there. Don't forget, tonight on my programs, we'll be covering this plus the trial we're covering on Court TV, Carly Gregg, and the pink cocaine case as well. So we got some stuff coming up tonight, 8 o'clock, 8 to 9, closing arguments, 9 to 10, Vinnie Politan investigates. 9 o'clock, we're doing this story. Okay, let's see. Okay, the defendant engaged in persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of activity with male commercial sex workers. Combs ensured participation from the women by distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, and leveraging his financial support and threatening cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. So the picture here is that these women are coerced into doing certain things. He brings in and flies in these male workers from the industry who engage in this conduct with these women. These women are engaging in the conduct because, according to prosecutors, they're being coerced to do it, either by being put under the influence of some substances that he is obtaining and distributing to them, or using his power in the industry to control their careers. Do this, or no video for you, no music video, or the financial support that he's providing, or intimidation or violence. I mean, the combination of all of this. So to allege this, you have to have proof of it. And is the proof going to come from the accuser, victims, right? That's one place where it can come. Is all this stuff captured on video? Is he captured on video talking about it, or in the moment using any of this coercive conduct? This is bad. Now, the nature of this trial is the jury has to see all this and hear all this. You've got to prove it. You don't just allege, you have to prove it. And by proving it, it makes everything very public. Now, it's federal court, but it's a public courtroom, so you can't lock people out of the courtroom when this testimony happens. That's not the way it works. So there'll be people who will be witnessing it, reporting on it. My guess is most of the accusers will not be named, but they'll have to appear inside the courtroom. The videos will have to be shown. Images will have to be displayed. All of this stuff will happen. So that's one part of the case where prosecutors, I want to get the defendant. Yes, but you also have to understand the impact of a trial. So the big question always becomes, will there be a deal? Well, I'm sure his side is looking for some sort of a deal because of what he's facing, which is never again walking free. Like never again. Like your life as you know it ended yesterday, last night. It ended. What you're experiencing right now could be the rest of your life behind bars, locked up. That's a much different life than what he's used to. Are you kidding me? A much different life than what he's used to. So with that in mind, they need to be and will be open to listening to any sort of a potential deal. Feds don't like to try cases. They don't. Because they never, ever, 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 ever want to lose. And the one way you don't lose is a guilty plea and a guilty plea deal. You never lose. They know how strong their evidence is, which often is the controlling factor for federal prosecutors. All right, I've got the stuff that I need. I don't have problems with my accuser, with my victims. I don't have problems with my digital evidence. I don't have problems with, the email communications maybe that they have intercepted. I don't have problems with my cooperating witnesses. They'll be able to paint a very complete picture here. But again, look at the circles that he's running around, right? Literally like royalty. That's that's his world. And he's been in this very, like wherever you come from, like he grew up in the mean streets of Westchester County, New York, not the mean streets, but you go from that to this world that's unreal, where you can do and have anything you want. And people will do and get you whatever you need, whatever you desire. That's the world he's been living in for a long, long time, which is very detached from probably his reality of growing up in New York and being, having a relatively normal kind of life. And then burst into the scene, got a lot of money and a lot of fame at a young age, and now has lived that for years, decades of this. And now it's all gone. All you have is what's in your cell. So you have to be open to listen to what the potential deals are. Would he take 10 years? Probably. Would the feds offer 10 years? Probably not. Probably not. Unless he has something to offer. If there's other information that he can provide. And that's generally what the feds are looking for. What can you give me that can lead to my next big case, my next big headline? But the problem Diddy has is he's the headline. He's the headline. And I don't know if you want to be the prosecutor because of the Epstein history. Epstein had a deal, that original deal years and years ago. So you don't want to be the guy to do that or the gal to do that. So that's why I think he's going to have a hard time getting any sort of an offer here. Where we are as a society and the history. Because I think part of what is in these pages is that he's carrying incriminating evidence against others and is using that to his benefit, right? Much like what everyone believes Epstein was doing and where he got his wealth. So do the feds have all this information already? Is there anything that they didn't seize? Is there anything that they don't have? Is there anything that Diddy can provide of value? Probably not. So the only thing he's got in his corner is, well, listen, I'll plead guilty. You don't have to try the case. That way you don't take the chance of losing this very public trial. So then it comes down to how strong do prosecutors believe their case is, and that's the back and forth, because I don't think Diddy has anything on anyone who's bigger than he is. That the feds wouldn't already have evidence of, unless he's got evidence that someone is who he has information on has done something else. I don't know. It seems like everything that he did, he memorialized and recorded and kept, and that stuff was all seized. So he's done. I don't think there's going to be any negotiation here that both sides could agree to. I mean, would he agree to 20 years? 20 years? Because how old is he? He's like 60. What's Diddy's real age? I think his real age is a little bit older than what publicly he says he is. But he's getting close to 60 if he's not 60 already. I don't know. That's always been he's always held himself out to be younger than he actually is. All right. Captain Jenks. His attorney should ask for a 20-year plea. That's what we just said, Captain Jenks, right? He gets out on his mid-70s. Shame that money he could have spent went to good charities. Yeah. I think 20 is the ballpark of where the feds might be listening. They might be listening because there's a couple factors here. One, you've got to win the case. And then when it comes to sentencing, you've got to get what you're asking for based upon all the different factors that go in. But 20, yeah, maybe 20. Maybe 20. I think it'll be, if he gets bond in the future on a renewed motion to get out, I think that would make it more difficult for him to plead guilty. I think if he's held in there for a while, month after month after month, the reality of how horrific this is, could make you go one way, say, I can't do this forever. I don't want to die here. Or it could make you say, take this to trial. I can't spend another day here. Those are the two ways you go. Feds don't like to lose. So they don't bring the case. They took their time here. It's been months since that raid. It's been months. And now finally they've put it all together. They've put it all together. Thank you, Captain Jenks. Hey, everybody. It's Mick Spunky who said, thank you for the song. And to y'all, thank you for the love. Of course, Mick Spunky. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we send the love to Mick Spunky? For those of you who missed the last live, you missed it. It was a big moment. I'll play a piece of it for you right now because everyone's going to say, what song? What song? Of course, it's time to get happy. This song. It's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile. Here comes Mick Spunky. It's time to get happy. There you go. The Mick Spunky theme. You can go to hear the whole thing. By the way, you can go on the YouTube page and feel free to download it, play it, whatever you want with it. Have fun with it. Big thanks to Mick Spunky. All right. I did see who did it. I saw it and then I missed it. Great nickname, whoever did it. Cuffy Combs. Cuffy Combs. All right. We got folks watching on Facebook and YouTube, seeing a lot of them. We've got an Xer, DC3 on X. Yep, absolutely. All right, good conversation taking place there. So I'll read a little more if you want. This is, and we've seen this on video on numerous occasions from at least 2009, continuing for years. Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects, and kicking them. These were witnessed by others. And then they go to the 2016 hotel video, which we've seen of Cassie being abused. Think about this, like doing that. And then by 2016, I'll do it in the hallway of a hotel. And then it's on video. Somehow that video gets deep sixed. Like, how does all this happen? You see, the other part of this is, and like, he's the big fish, obviously, right? There he is with the young usher. He's the big fish. But there's a lot of people around him who are going to potentially get wrapped up in all this. And they should, because these are the people who enabled and helped all of this. And I think the question for all those people and for people in the industry, it's the same thing that happened with Weinstein. Like, there were jokes and murmurs about Harvey Weinstein for years. Like, everybody knew, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Really? And now, the truth has finally come out and people have taken action. But this is to me, this falls on a couple places, and it begins in and I say Hollywood, where I really mean not just the city of Hollywood, but like the entertainment community, the people that knew about this, the people that may have witnessed some of this, and the people that said nothing and did nothing for years. Now, you can't blame the victims. You can't blame the victims for not coming forward, because that's the nature of this type of victimization, is that you're preying on people who you have power over, whether it's physically, financially, career-wise, or you're blackmailing them with these horrific videos that they were coerced into making. Right? You hold that over their heads. It's like the little trick. You get this person to do this, this, or this, and then when you forever hold control over them, because hey, if you don't do this, some people may see this video. That's what we're talking about here. But there were people around him. People either on the payroll, or how about the people at the parties? Like, who are these people? Sound like Jerry Seinfeld. Who are these people? Who are the people at the parties? I've seen a lot of people dressed up in white. Okay. The defendant used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. Those employees include security staff, household staff, personal assistants, high-ranking supervisors, and other close associates. Acted as intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs and the control of the Combs business. So I get it. Were any of the people working for him coerced into keeping this thing going? Or were they just on the payroll and part of the entourage and part of the fun and the party? Like I could see someone showing up and applying for a job and working for Diddy, and it's like a big break. Wow, this is amazing. This is like a dream job for me. Until it turns into a nightmare and you see what's going on. But then are you so far entrenched that there's nothing you can do? You don't want to walk away from a good job? But then are you actually engaging in conduct that's facilitating and allowing this to happen? That now makes you part of the whole problem. That puts you on the hook criminally for all of this. And I understand it's a tough spot. I don't know who all these people are allegedly doing this, but yeah, you are now part of the conspiracy. So, how will this case progress? If he's locked up, it's on a fast track. If he's able to get bond somewhere down the road, I just saw Cuff Daddy now too from ARC. Yeah. If he's out, then it's the slowdown game for the defense. But if he's locked and he's going nowhere, sooner rather than later, there's no reason to slow it down. M71 says he's my age, 53, 54. I think he's older. I think that's what he holds himself out to be. I remember at one point I worked with someone. I'm trying to remember if he was older than I am or the same age as I am, who went to high school with him and said, and I think he's about my age, so that would be older than 53, 54. And he said, he shaved about 5-6 years off his age because I'm his age. I went to high school with him. That's what this friend of his, a classmate of his said that I worked with. So he may be 53, 54. I may be completely off here, but I'm basing it upon what this guy I worked with said. All right. Let me read a little more. So it's interesting. You if you read this and go through this indictment, They refer to it as the Combs Enterprise or the Enterprise, which is exactly what they did with R. Kelly. But R. Kelly's wasn't very sophisticated. Like R. Kelly was more like, hey, can you get that woman in the third row and bring her backstage for me? This is next level stuff. That was like, not much different than most rock stars. R. Kelly, as I read the accusations against him. In this case, it's next level and it's different. Yeah, they're talking about forced labor, interstate transportation. Interstate transportation is they would bring in the workers who were going to engage in these acts with the women who were being coerced. They brought them in from other states. And as soon as you do that, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Let's see. I'm trying to read things that I can actually read here, right? Okay. Purpose. Okay. Operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including record labels, recording studio, apparel line, alcohol, spirits business, marketing agency, and television network media company. Okay. That's the business. That's in the power of Combs. So that business is enabling Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise to engage in the unlawful acts of violence, including the trafficking, the labor. So what's interesting is this indictment versus others is a little more vague at times. It's not as detailed. I think it's a total of like 14 pages. And it looks like it's 3 counts. The big thing are these freak offs. The freak offs that would last sometimes days, which were these planned events. I mean, I've been calling it a party, but it's not really a party. It's like this step into deviant behavior. And it's at the freak offs where these women would be coerced into doing these things. And members would book hotel rooms. There's a lot of talk about baby oil and extra linens and cleaning the hotel rooms. They confiscated thousands of bottles of baby oil as part of this. It's I can't really read it. Is what I'm saying. I think I've gone as far as I can. We can do more on our TV show, believe it or not, than you can on YouTube, which is kind of sad that we can't sit here and talk about allegations of behavior without being misinterpreted as to what we're doing here on the show, because we're talking about our system of criminal justice, which is part of our government, which, the freedom of the media in this country was born to report on and keep tabs on what our government was doing. And here the government is bringing a federal indictment that will be heard. But I am the member of the media is seemingly handcuffed on these platforms from speaking frankly about what's going on here. But I think I've painted as clear a picture as I can without going over the line, hopefully where they don't end up taking this video and just taking it down. Because the point is to inform people about what's going on. So I think there's 2 tracks to everything here. There's the court case that we'll be following on Court TV, right? I've gone over negotiations here. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I think this will result in a trial. If he somehow, some way convinces a judge to let him out on bond, I think it will take a while to get to trial, because then the money will be used to fully litigate the case. I believe if he is locked up, he will get impatient and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's do this. We can win this. What will his arguments be? His arguments will be similar to the case years ago, the case involving nug possession. I say things backwards. In the nug possession case, he basically attacked all of the witnesses because all of them had sued him civilly. Well, the entire basis of this investigation began with a civil lawsuit. So he's going to talk about this being a money grab. He's going to talk about this being a relationship. He may say, yeah, there were some problems. Yes, it was toxic, but it's not a criminal enterprise. I think that's where the defense goes in all of this. There's an attack of the victim, but also an explanation of the fact that this was a relationship. And that's something you heard from his attorney outside of court today when we were listening before. Ongoing relationship, and try to distinguish between the two. And then it's the characterization of his enterprise. Like, what was the purpose of his enterprise? The government's going to say the purpose, like they did in R. Kelly, of the enterprise was to fulfill these sexual desires and this deviant behavior and cover it up and coerce people and extort people, not extort, but blackmail people into, or extort people into doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. Whereas he's going to say the purpose is to make money and support my family. That's what he's going to say. So those are the pictures. That's the way it's going to play out. You will not see this case. It's in federal court. Federal court does not permit cameras. They do not permit microphones. It's like the Middle Ages, these courtrooms. You go in and someone with and they're very talented, but they make little pictures and then they send pictures out. And that's how you'll find out. So a lot of the information, unless transcripts are released in this case, which they might be, you might get daily transcripts of what's being said inside there. You'll get, reports on what was said and how it went, but you won't get to see or hear any of it because the feds don't allow it. My prediction is that he's going to have the same outcome as R. Kelly here. That's just the nature of these cases. That's where we are. And I say, the one difference is he's Diddy. He's not R. Kelly, but I don't think Diddy is perceived today as who he historically was. Right? I don't think he's perceived today as who he historically was perceived as. I'm sure he still has a certain sliver of fans, but people are much, much more skeptical. Ashley Bouchard, Vinny. Side note, but have you heard Jen Soto's new interviews? Not good. I will take a listen. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that. We will be all over that. But I have not heard them yet, but they are not good. But the question is, Ashley, on Jen Soto, what we heard from law enforcement and from prosecutors, that there's not the evidence at this point to charge her with anything. But it's been not good from the beginning, hasn't it, really? But thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Don't forget tonight, 9:00, we'll be doing this story, bringing in some guests who know a lot about the world of Diddy, including someone who worked with him as well. Phil's Mod Squad. Thank you, Phil's Mod Squad. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Is that Phil's Mod Squad twice? Bing, bang, boom. Fantastic. The question is, who is Phil's Mod Squad? Who are those people? He's got a whole squad. All right. Adopt a Cat 28. Thank you, Vinny, for being brave to always speak the truth. I've been a fan of yours for years. Thank you, Adopt a Cat 28. Look at that little kitty right there. I must say, I don't have a cat. We have a little dog. It was our first real pet, a little doggy. But not a cat. My brother had I think one cat, two cats. but his cat acted like a dog a little bit. It was pretty funny. All right. Who else is in the house? I'm just trying to make sure I am all right. Mhm. All right, Gen X. Oh, some major stuff yesterday coming from the Grizzlies. Thank you. Thank you, Gen X, to the 7th. We will get on it. Gringo with an interesting comparison. He's fallen as far as Bill Cosby, and it'll only get worse once the trial starts. Well, you think about it, right? If Cosby could fall, clearly Diddy could fall as well, right? Now Diddy's going to have he's going to have a New York jury, and the only reason I say that is the New York jury last time cut him a break back in 2001, back at the turn of the century. Oh. And Cicada, Vinny, hey, I'm so happy to know the judge won't grant bail to this monster. Thank you, Cicada. Now, I'm wondering, you can always renew your application for bail now or for bond. Generally speaking, in federal courts, the way it works, my father was a federal judge, and in most cases, your first appearance is in front of the magistrate judge, right? The magistrate judge. And then the case goes to the actual federal district court judge. So a magistrate judge is a notch below a federal judge. So I don't know if he was in charge of the actual judge or the magistrate judge. So sometimes what will happen is if you don't get it when you're in front of the magistrate, when the case then moves to the regular federal judge, you make the application again. You have a new set of ears and you make the argument. Maybe you alter the bail package that you're presenting. Maybe you go from 50 million to 75 million. I don't know. He's got to do something. But because he's facing life, because of the nature of the intimidation of people, part of the argument the government is making here is that you let him out, he could attempt to intimidate some of the witnesses in this because those are the actual allegations. Whereas the defense will come back and say, well, he'll stay locked in his own home. He's not going anywhere. He will not communicate with anyone. You know, you make those sort of promises, no internet. I don't know, whatever you can put in there to try to convince the judge that he wouldn't be a threat to flee or a threat to the public. Adopt a Cat's been feeding feral street cats for 46 years. Wow. Oh, anyhow, folks, don't forget tonight, 8 o'clock on Court TV. All right, last stream we forgot to do it. Prince Lover always wants to know what my sugar is, my blood sugar. I am type 1 diabetic. How's my energy level? My energy level good? Where do you think I am? I'm caught up now that you could take a guess. You can guess my blood sugar. 80 to 120 is about the target. 80 to 140 really is the target for a type 1 diabetic like me. If I'm under 80, I start to get a little lightheaded. I'm under 70, I get a little antsy. Under 60, I'm getting close to panic. 50s and 40s, I'm in complete panic mode. If I'm above 180, I might feel a little lethargic. The 200s, very lethargic. So take your guess. As soon as I see a correct answer, I will post it up there for the blood sugar. Rainbow, you can't give me a range. You have to give me the exact number. The exact number is what we're looking for. The exact number. Nobody's gotten it yet. Seeing a lot of numbers flying up on the board right now. All right. And a hello to Ray Rob from the Philippines. Hey, Vinny, always watching you from the Philippines, retired Army. Awesome, Ray Rob. Hey, why don't you enjoy some balut for me tonight? Have some balut, Ray. All right, let's see. Does anyone have the number? Who's got the number? I've seen some getting close. People are getting close. People are getting close, but the number could change. Oh, the number has changed, so I think we're going to have some correct guesses. Oh, where is it? The number changed. The number just changed. I got to find someone who's got the right number. Oh, off by one. All right. I'm going through. I'm rolling through. There we go. Rebecca T. Manning. Can you? Oh, you can't see that. I got to do the phone. Let's hope it's the same on this app. Yep, there you go. 94, Rebecca T. Manning. You got my blood sugar. Let me tell you, if I could be 94 every day at every moment, I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. That's about as normal as it gets for a type 1. As normal as it gets. All right. A lot of numbers. Gringa came in at 95. All right. So I got to get ready to wrap this up because I got a show tonight, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Closing Orange. We're going to talk about the Carly Gregg case. Don't know if you're watching this on Court TV, but if you're not, you should. Incredibly dramatic. I'll have the big moments. And you've got Carly Gregg, who was 14 years old in high school, but apparently had broke bad and ended up taking out her mom with a nug. I got to keep saying it backwards. With a nug, and then using a nug on her stepfather. But her stepfather survived. He testified today. We'll take a look at his testimony. What a day there. We'll be talking about the pink cocaine, social media, Instagram model down in Florida. Then at 9 o'clock, it's all about Diddy, Cuff Daddy, Cuffy. All right. This is an interesting question, right? This is an interesting question. Fascinating question. Because around the turn of the century, he was hot and heavy with J-Lo. And this was right at the point where J-Lo was taking off. And I remember covering the trial, and the trial, it was about Diddy, but it was about when is J-Lo going to show up to the courthouse, and she never did. But did he have anything on her? Did he do this for some reason? Why do I think that wouldn't happen? Because while they were a couple, she at that point had already made her mark and didn't really need him. I think they were more, not exactly equals, but had large levels of fame by herself at that moment. And she wasn't on his label. So I don't think so. And was this stuff happening back then? Because remember here, prosecutors are going back to 2008. J-Lo is circa 1999, 2000. So I don't think so. And, I think at the moment when they met, Diddy may have had a little more fame than him, but she sort of catapulted and then skyrocketed at that point. Not in terms of wealth. He obviously has more wealth. But the fame. Yeah, I'm not sure if he was making those videos and engaging in that conduct at that point. And Lucy says, no, Vinny. J-Lo knew exactly what was going on with him. Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. My guess is at this point she will avoid this story like the plague and say nothing and do nothing. But I wonder if any of the paparazzi, when they come across her, will ask her for a comment on this. But my guess is she's going to completely avoid it and just move on. Anyhow, thank you, everyone, for watching today. Great to have you aboard. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm going to try. I've penciled in. I don't like to plan these things because I don't want to not show up after I've planned something. But I'm going to try very hard to do a Thursday morning edition of the live stream. A Thursday morning. Oh, here's from Under Your Scars. Thank you. Sean Love Combs. $1969. All right. Maybe 64. Maybe 64. But maybe 69. Please contact Justice as a process on Tyrone Tucker coming up fast. No evidence. Tyrone Tucker, one of the other accusers in one of the civil lawsuits against Diddy. All right. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone's super chat today. I always like to pay proper respect. I think we got them all. I just want to check. I think we're good. All right. So I think this is the beginning of the end. I don't think he's getting out. I don't think he'll get bond. I think he'll go to trial. I think it'll happen next fall. And I believe the jury will convict him. And I believe he will get a sentence that will make it impossible for him to get out of prison. That's just my analysis, my initial analysis on day one. Obviously, things can happen in court that can change that analysis. But that's where I am right now, having read the indictment, having covered the R. Kelly case. I think the only chance he has is if somehow, some way, a New York jury I'm back. Had a little problem with the stream there for a second. Anyway, thank you for watching. We had over 2,400 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Please like the video. Please subscribe, share, and re-exit. I'll see you tonight, 8 o'clock on Court TV. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.